and it's really just kind of pathetic and disheartening and makes you lose faith in humanity. So if you are somewhere in the back of your brain starting to think maybe I've been infected by the groupthink, then try and separate yourself from the hive mind and the groupthink and think a little more independently. I think that would be better for everybody involved. And if you're serious about criticizing feminism, then perhaps inform yourself a bit more. Maybe read some of the books of the major thinkers.
I agree people should do their homework on feminism. Perhaps they should start with the 1967 classic The Scum Manifesto, written in 1967 by Valerie Solanas. Or they could read The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan in 1963, the book that near single-handedly launched second-wave feminism. The book could jokingly be called the book that launched the first world problems internet meme. I think these two books express both extreme ends of feminism. But rather than expecting everyone to go buy books and read, how about I just supply us here and now with examples of modern-day feminism?
So I was walking down the street today, and somebody honked at me, and I thought in my head, well, that's what I deserve for wearing leggings and not pants. And I still would get honked at, even if I was walking down the street naked. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't have to worry that I can't walk down the street without somebody honking at me and making signs at me or saying things to me just because I'm female. I'm alone. I mean, it's ridiculous, because if I'm with a guy, like one of my friends or anyone, they're not going to do it. But if it's me and another girl, they will do it. And I just think that first off, it shouldn't matter what I'm wearing. Secondly, I don't deserve it regardless of what I'm wearing. I don't see when it became acceptable in today's society that a woman can't walk down the streets just on her own without having to get honked at by somebody in a car. I don't need you looking at me. You should first off I don't need the attention. So I just don't understand, why is it acceptable? And why is it that society has ingrained in women that based on what you're wearing or based on how you're acting, that it's your fault in any way, shape, or form? It's like rape culture all the time. What is this? This is ridiculous. Why is it that we teach women to be afraid and teach women to learn how to protect themselves, when we should be teaching men to respect women, and we should be teaching men that, just because you see a girl doesn't mean that you need to some reason yell at her or say something to her in any way, shape, or form, because quite frankly, calling me anything from your car or from the street is automatically going to make me think I need to be careful. I'm in trouble.
This video is for people who think that street harassment is not a problem. Okay, ladies, hands up if you've ever been in a public place, such as walking down the street, and have experienced any of these things. Number 1, unwanted sexual remarks from men. Remarks can range from things like, hey baby, to, wow, I'd fuck that till she bled. 2, unwanted sexual attention from men. This includes wolf whistling, making kissy noises at you when you walk past, staring at your boobs when you are visibly uncomfortable with them doing so. Let me tell you now, street harassment is not about complimenting people. It's about power. It's about forcing someone to acknowledge what you think of their body and their appearance. And if you see someone attractive and you want to talk to them, don't pretend that you're not going into that hoping that that talk will eventually lead to you having sex with them. And even if your intentions are harmless, even if you'd go away completely unflustered if we said we weren't interested, you need to recognise that your actions don't exist in a vacuum. They exist in a context, and that context is rape culture. And it's a culture where there are high levels of sexual violence, and a culture where we blame victims for their own assaults. Now, can you understand why we feel like threatened and nervous and terrified and scared when you shout things at us on the street? If you think I'm taking away your right to talk to pretty girls on the street, well, firstly, you don't have a right to accost strangers on the street and tell them what you think of their appearance. My body isn't public property, nor is anybody else's, so you don't have a right to comment on it, and you don't have a right to leer or stare at me. You don't have a right to my time.
Yes.
Men rights.
Oh, that is funny. Okay, that's fair. Men's rights is fucking hilarious.
Why?
Because it's so fucking stupid, I want to gag. It's hilarious that people actually can open their goddamn face holes and say the words that relate to this fucking topic. Like, men's rights, we're oppressed. Fuck your fucking fuck and all of the fuck related to it. Now, when we have this issue of men's rights, right, you know, women are getting... Fuck it, I'm not even going to start with that whole bullshit of where I try to paraphrase what they're saying because it's just going to make me more angry. Because when we have these stupid fuckers going around saying, well, men are oppressed because women aren't just bending over and letting them do whatever we want anymore, and women want rights and stuff, and I'm not okay with that. That's really what all this bullshit boils down to, is these guys are complaining that women want a say in things, and they're not okay with that. Like, women need to be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, right? That's where they belong, or I don't even fucking know. Now, another important thing is this whole idea that men have about, women are trying to take away men's rights and take away our balls and our manness or machismo something. Apparently, women asking for rights somehow removes the testicles off of men or something. And
they're sucking our mojo out in the night.
Please leave the laughter in.
Yes!
And yes, I do have a woman in attendance laughing at you because you're stupid. If you want to go on with this logic, you can, but be aware of the fact that the rest of us in the world are going to laugh at you and think, well, I wonder how small his penis is. I mean, if this is what he's going to devote his life to, this guy here, talk about how women are getting uppity and how he just is too 19th century to handle women having rights, then I'm going to laugh at you. And I'm going to unabashedly, unashamedly, and ridiculously laugh at you because you're silly. If there is a group in the world who has the least reason to complain about oppression and lack of rights and war crimes and everything else that the white male landowner has done to everybody else in the world, well, it would be the white male landowner who has no right to complain.
This young man is a perfect example of people who oppose the men's rights movement. His arguments are pretty much copy and paste. The men's rights movement has nothing to do with taking rights away from women. No one that I have ever heard from has advocated taking away a woman's right to vote, a woman's right to work, the right to hold office, the right to voice their opinion, or to be protected under the same laws as men. Nor have I ever heard them say that rape is good, or that sometimes it's justified, or that violence against women, or anyone for that matter, is a good thing. And feminists, both male and female, seem to be obsessed with tossing out the buzzword, privilege, and white male, as if the men's rights movement was made up of only white people, or has any sort of racial viewpoint whatsoever.
We're not even talking about the unpaid work that women do in society, child care, health care, family care.
Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky. Women hold up half the sky.
Warren Farrell!
Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell! Fuck Warren Farrell!
And like these so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups.
No hate speech on campus! No hate speech on campus! No hate speech on campus!
It's in our line. You're doing it really well. Good job.
Very frustrated. I was studying all today, and I took time out of my studies to come here.
This is what men's rights look like! This is what men's rights look like! This is what men's rights look like! This is what men's rights look like!
Yeah, God, you're fucking dumb. Fuck you. They're fucking pigs. How do you sleep at night, man? You fuckers.
So you believe it's hate speech, right?
It is hate speech.
I've never heard him before. I don't even know what he's talking. I've never heard of him before.
We invite you to educate yourself.
So I just wanted to listen to him. I just wanted to see who this guy is and what he's talking about. But now I can't get in.
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum. Fucking rape apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum.
Is there someone else I can wait? Does someone follow me?
You fucking scum. Yeah, just another...
I just want to listen to someone else's opinion. I'm not even on a side here. I just listen to as many people as I can.
You know what, though? Why would you pay money to fucking support a fucking rape apologist if you weren't fucking one?
I've never heard him say anything that was...
Well, it's fucking scum.
You have a ticket?
Yeah, you should be fucking proud of yourself. These are the fucking men that are going to rape your sisters and the women in your life.
Warren Farrell does not support rape, incest, or any of the nonsense these protesters claimed. I have linked in the description of this video Warren Farrell's speech. You can see for yourself he said nothing hostile towards women. His speech was mostly about father and son togetherness and damaging effects of a fatherless household. I need you to understand that when feminists call someone a rape apologist, a rape supporter, a rape enabler, or a misogynist, or accuse their opposition of hate speech, there's seldom ever even a grain of truth to it. These are just feminist buzzwords to put down people they don't like. The mindless use of buzzwords, as Utul Time put it, is called groupthink. The accusation of hate speech is used to silence their opposition because feminists know if anyone was allowed to rebuttal their baseless claims, they wouldn't be able to argue back, so they silence opposition whenever possible. Rebecca Watson and other notable feminists in the atheist movement have complained repeatedly about sexual harassment at atheist conventions. Though I am an atheist, I have been to many churches, and there has never been a need for a no sexual harassment policy, and no one has ever been sexually harassed. But atheist conferences seem to be one big sex harassment rape culture. Why is this? Is it possible that belief in a divine spirit makes people better behaved? This is after all a common argument from the religious people. Is it the teachings found in the Christian Bible? Does religion create a respectful community? Why is it that no church I have ever been to has ever felt the need to hand out sexual harassment policies, turn down people and tell them they weren't allowed and due to alleged threats they gave someone else at church? And why is it, out of everybody in my Bible-thumping family, I have never heard anyone say they felt unsafe at church? Either atheists are people who are so immoral they have no control over their base desires and act with animalistic impulse, and have turned these conventions into a rape culture where the women don't feel safe, or the feminists like Watson are full of shit. Which one is it? Now let's take a look at what actual men's rights activism looks like.
I'd like to discuss another frequently used word that is nothing more than an expression of misandry. That word is objectification. What does this word even really mean? Well, it's hard to say. I've noticed that feminists like to use words that are deliberately vague or have shifting definitions, so that it lets them better obscure their intentions or weasel their way through arguments. They claim that objectification is when a man turns a woman into an object. I think it's more accurate to say that in almost every case the word is used, it's meant not to express turning someone into an object, but rather to degrade male sexuality. Objectification merely expresses a hatred and disgust for male sexual desires. It's a tool to try to shame men for having feelings which are entirely natural and benign. Feminists complain that when a man sees a woman and feels attraction toward her, he's not seeing her as a complex human being, but instead merely seeing her through the lens of his own desires and his own ends, thus objectifying her. Well, I have news for you. That happens all the time with the people that we encounter in our daily lives, and it's not nearly as evil as feminists want to paint it. For example, when the pizza delivery guy brings me a pizza, that is usually the most important thing about him, at least to me. I can't put that much thought into what his home life is like, how his parents treated him as a child, or if he is happy or sad with his life. I just want the pizza. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I don't appreciate the depth of humanity in each and every person that I come across doesn't mean that I have dehumanized them in my mind. It doesn't mean that they are objects to me or that I would mistreat them. Along the same lines, if I see someone attractive, I might feel lust towards them while at the same time not consider all the complex things that are happening in that person's life. It doesn't degrade them in any way. It doesn't make them any more of an object. I mean, you could walk down a city street with 100 different people and not give too much thought to any single person. You might notice an old guy, maybe a policeman, and there might be a girl who is really hot. There's no reason to think that the pretty girl is less human in your mind than the old guy just because you are more attracted to her. And she is not an object just because you're thinking about having sex with her, any more than the policeman is an object just because you worry that he might give you a ticket.